Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Benedict Construction. The best thing you can say about a construction company, they got the job done on time and they came in under budget. That was my experience with Benedict Construction. They did great work on our set here. Quality work from quality people in terms of doing the repurposing of a home to actually redevelop it, to rework it. There's some other word I'm leaving out right now. Daniel? Remodeling, that's the one. I'm already on to Shoop over here on the board, so I lost the word remodel, which is kind of hand in hand with what Benedict Construction does. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. They do great work. Trust me. As you can see, this is a gorgeous set drawn up on a cocktail napkin, and then they turned it into this beautiful reality. So if they can do that for me, imagine what they can do for your living room, for your kitchen, your bath, etc. All right. We're still going to talk about some 50-50 balls, penalties, Kelly's ability, more coming up later. But let me start by showing you some really bad numbers at the Benedict Construction Big Board. 7 of Tennessee's 10 foes so far have rushed for 158 yards or more. Those 7 teams have averaged 273 yards on the ground. The 2016 Vols are worse than the 2012 Cincinnati defense versus the run. Giving up, Daniel Hood gives it a celebration signal down there since he was on the Cincinnati defense. 216 yards per game this year allowed, rushing 188 for the Cincinnati defense. However, the overall comparison, not quite to the Cincinnati depths yet, but they're in the ballpark. Points, you're doing much better, but yardage, you're within 50 yards a game of Cincinnati suckage. So, when you look at that, we know that injuries have played a role. There's no question. But to be fair, there were some defensive issues right off the bat. Appy State, Virginia Tech. You were giving up some yards, 180 plus to the first 2 teams you played. I'm not going to let you say 50-50. Give me a percentage breakdown on blame. Shoop and his magic show, or is it the guys who magically disappeared from the lineup due to injuries? Where do you put the blame?
I would go 70% on injuries, but I will tell you this, that I thought Shoop said something really interesting recently. He said that with his defense, he used to be able to send in 2 or 3 different calls in the huddle, depending on what the offense is doing. With injuries, with inexperience, and with the new group, he hasn't been able to do that. Having said that, I think the scheme has not been very good at times. You've had too many misalignments, too many missed assignments, and while a lot of that's on players, to me, a lot of it's on the coaches to make sure that the players understand what they're supposed to do.
Mike Strange, where do you put the percentage? Injuries, Shoop?
I'm going to go more than 50% injuries, but there's a because I think Jalen Reeves-Maben is a heck of a football player and would make a heck of a difference. But that said, you look at early in games or coming out after halftime like Kentucky yesterday, they're seeing something, they're able to scheme something there, and you're seeing a lot of big runs against Tennessee's defense early in games or after halftime adjustments. So there's something they're seeing that they're exploiting.
Jimmy, we said on our Thursday show on Fox and then on your show Friday on Sports Talk that Tennessee wouldn't be able to stop Kentucky's run. The reason we said it, you've got 3 of your top 4 defensive tackles out and your best linebacker. So, it kind of goes right to the injury issue. Kyler Kerbyson, what percentage on Shoop, what percentage on injury?
I'm going to say 75-25 on injury. Having those guys out, you really can't do anything on defense, especially your all-star captain linebacker who leads the defense. If he's not out there, how are you going to run the show? That's a huge part missing. Having those 3 out of the 4 starting defensive tackles out, you can't run games, you can't get off double teams, you can't plug up the hole. There's a lot of stuff you can't prevent. And as for adjustments, Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, leading by a lot, barely scored in the second half to where we were able to come back. So, he has done some good things this year that look positive for years to come.
Daniel Hood, I'm going to close with you. I'm going to give you about a minute here. You're a coach at Catholic High School. Catholic, one of the best teams in the area, lost to Fulton. We were talking before the game. It might have given you, what happened in that game with the number of players you lost, might have given you a different perspective on this whole injury versus coach thing. First, what percentage do you put the injuries or coaching, and then tell me why?
Because of that game, I'm going 100% injury.
Wow, 100%.
just everything they mentioned here, everything you're affected by, injuries controls it. I did a quick number here. We lost 7 people out of 22 starting positions. Tennessee this season, in some of their games, were up to 10 of their 22 starters were out. And so you're talking about how do you even coaching that point. We had to go in and start almost making defenses up on the sideline just to get guys to get bodies out there to try to do something. And you can't play defense that way. You're handcuffed. You can't run the games you want to. You can't run the blitzes you want to. Because, I mean, like, for example, in my group we had outside linebackers. I was down to my first guy and my fifth guy. How can I tell them to run, attach, eat, the different types of games? You can't. You're handcuffed. And I think on the flip side of it, on the scheme side, it worked in the second half against Florida, worked in the second half against Virginia Tech, App State, and these other teams. I think it's all injuries.
But here's the thing, Daniel. All those injuries for you guys, you're supposed to coach them up. Next man up, coach them up. They're all supposed to be as good as the guy in front of them.
And see, the last thing I'll add quickly is the other thing that's not really counted into that is how those injuries affect your teammates. I mean, I had to look at a senior that could run through a block wall and tell him he can't go into the game anymore. And how does that affect the teammates? Seeing their number one guy not being able to go on the field. It hurts.
There you go. All right, so I'm a little surprised. Everybody leans more injury than scheme. Daniel goes 100%, and you wouldn't have said that a couple weeks ago. He lived it, he saw it, he witnessed it, and it changed his mind. There you go. When we come back, we're going to talk about Josh Dobbs. Will he leave here as one of the most beloved players in history? Tom Hart on the SEC Network said so. Do we agree? Come on back.